Being an actor is hard work, and making a big dent on the movie industry in general takes years of heavy grafting and sacrifice. So, for many of our favourite actors, the best way to get into the cinematic big leagues is by taking small but important jobs around set, or even taking thankless roles as extras. I'm Josh from Whatculture.com, and these are 10 huge actors you didn't notice as extras in movies. Number 10. Jackie Chan, Enter the Dragon. Beloved martial artist and actor Jackie Chan only briefly appears in the Bruce Lee action classic Enter the Dragon, and his appearance is both memorable but also easy to miss. Credited only as Thug in prison, Chan turns up halfway through the movie when Bruce Lee's vengeful protagonist is set upon by an onslaught of nameless goons under the employ of the film's vile villain, Mr. Han, appearing for a split second to get Lee into a bear hug before being effortlessly overpowered and losing his life to a swift neck snap. Chan's screen time is fleeting, but it does serve as a great reminder of where the megastar got his start. In fact, much of Chan's early career output found him working as a fight scene extra and choreographer, with the vast majority of his characters meeting quick and brutal deaths. Number 9. Megan Fox, Bad Boys 2. Michael Bay has a long history of controversy to his name, a lot of which stems from his treatment of women in his films. Perhaps Bay's biggest controversy, though, comes from Bad Boys 2, the bombastic, insanely over-the-top action sequel to his directorial debut. In a nightclub scene, actress Megan Fox can be seen very briefly dancing under a waterfall, dressed in a bikini, before disappearing from the frame. The problem with this, well, Fox was only 16 when the film was released, and is reported to have only been 15 when Bay cast her in the role of a club dancer. Bay and Fox have had an infamously turbulent relationship over the years, but have worked together numerous times thanks to the Transformers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchises. Number 8. Ben Affleck, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Before he scooped an Oscar for writing the drama Good Will Hunting in 1997, and long before he donned the mask of the Caped Crusader, Ben Affleck appeared as a basketball extra in none other than Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a terrible film which would soon become a great TV show. In one of his first on-screen performances, Affleck appears on court opposite a student who's turned into a vampire, scaring him into giving up the ball. Hilariously, Affleck was deemed so bad in the role that his screen time was massively cut down, and the one line that he was given, "Just take it," was dubbed in post-production. Luckily for him though, Buffy the Vampire Slayer was a total flop for everyone involved, and since his role as a basketball player 10 was so small, he was able to escape the film unscathed before going on to bigger and better things. Number 7. Brad Pitt, No Man's Land. A few years before his breakout role in the iconic Thelma and Louise, Brad Pitt was just another young actor trying to make it big. In 1987 alone, he served as an extra in 4 movies, those being Hunk, No Way Out, Less Than Zero, and No Man's Land, but it's only the latter film where the future A-lister is properly noticeable on screen. Starring Charlie Sheen as an arrogant playboy who may or may not be a criminal mastermind, No Man's Land is a weak and ultimately forgettable crime drama which has aged like milk, but it at least has Brad Pitt turn up for a passing frame as a waiter at a restaurant, 80s haircut and all. Considering the fact that Pitt has been one of Hollywood's most popular, dependable, and talked about stars for almost 30 years now, it really is strange to see him in such a small, silent part, knowing where he would eventually end up. Number 6. Bruce Willis and Tobin Bell, The Verdict. As far as legal dramas go, The Verdict is easily one of the best on offer, sporting a career-best Paul Newman as a world-weary lawyer caught in a struggle to save his crumbling career. It really is phenomenal stuff, and only gets more intriguing when you learn that both Bruce Willis and soul legend Tobin Bell appear as courtroom extras towards the end of the flick. Seated on the third row of the nearly packed courtroom, both actors are sat next to each other looking on as Newman fights to preserve his image. Bell would go on to serve as an extra in such celebrated films as Tootsie and Sophie's Choice as well, before terrifying audiences worldwide as the infamous Jigsaw Killer. Willis, meanwhile, would hit the big leagues in only a handful of years, when he starred as John McClane in the classic action flick Die Hard. So, not bad for two guys looking remarkably uninterested in a Paul Newman film. Number 5. Evangeline Lilly, Freddy vs. Jason. Just before scoring her big break as Kate Austen in the beloved drama series Lost, Evangeline Lilly was cast in several big movies as a barely seen extra. Aside from turning up in the Lizzie McGuire movie as a police officer and White Chicks as a blink and you'll miss her party guest, she's perhaps most noticeable in the horror crossover Freddy vs. Jason, where she has a walk-on role as an unnamed high schooler listed only as school student next to Locker. Following her time as an extra, Lilly would go on to play a major role in Lost and have interesting roles in celebrated films such as The Hurt Locker Whatculture and the Hobbit trilogy. Number 4, Clint Eastwood, Tarantula. Clint Eastwood, of course, is one of the greatest figures in all of cinema, an iconic star who defined an entire genre of movies and has been actively making and starring in films for over 70 years. That is insane. But before he was winning Oscars left, right, and center, before he blew audiences away as the man with no name, and before he was begging criminals to make his day, Eastwood was an actor searching for his big break like everyone else, and starring in a handful of films in small, non-speaking roles. His first on-screen appearance can be found in the revelatory B-movie horror Tarantula, where he was cast as an unnamed fighter pilot whose face is mostly obscured throughout his momentary screen time. Less than 10 years later though, Eastwood's time as a bit player was put firmly behind him when he was cast in Sergio Leone's influential spaghetti western A Fistful of Dollars, and the rest, as they say, is history. Number 3, Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez, Badlands. The directorial debut of visionary filmmaker Terrence Malick, Badlands is often cited as one of the most influential films of all time, as well as one of the best debuts ever made. It stars Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek as a murderous runaway couple who flee across America in an attempt to start a new life. Early in the movie, Spacek takes a moment to look out of her window and sees two young boys playing around a lamppost. It's set during the dead of night, so it is admittedly hard to tell, but the boys were portrayed by Sheen's young sons, Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez, long before their own careers as major Hollywood stars. For both actors, Badlands was their first on-screen appearance, and kicked off a long-running tradition of the pair turning up to work alongside their legendary father. Number 2, Willem Dafoe, Heaven's Gate. Undeniably one of the finest actors of his generation, Willem Dafoe's first on-screen appearance in Michael Cimino's epic western Heaven's Gate wasn't originally supposed to be a bit part, but rather a substantial role with both dialogue and character development. Unfortunately, Dafoe never quite got the chance to explore the role as initially intended, because he was fired early into the film's production. The story goes that in order to get the role in the first place, he lied and told Cimino that he could speak fluent Dutch. When Cimino found out that this wasn't the case, he let the actor off, but after Dafoe laughed at a joke on set, Cimino, an infamously strict filmmaker, decided to cut him from the flick entirely. Yeah, I know, it sounds like a bit from Friends, doesn't it? Like if you swap out Dafoe for Joey, it works as a B-plot in an episode. They could have done this whole thing. Anyway, Dafoe can still be seen in the film's infamous cockfight scene, where his character was meant to be introduced, but otherwise he's never seen again. Though this failed to ruin his career and makes for a great little story, it still sucks that Dafoe wasn't able to make the most of his big screen debut. Number 1, Rene Zellweger, Dazed and Confused. Richard Linklater's beloved coming-of-age comedy Dazed and Confused kicked off the careers of numerous future A-listers, including Oscar winners Matthew McConaughey and Ben Affleck, and features such a wide ensemble that it can be easy to forget just how many stars are actually in it. But one actor you most likely missed is the brilliant Rene Zellweger, who appears as a senior high schooler at the film's end-of-year party, seen holding a beer bong for another student. If you pay close attention to her clothes though, Zellweger can also be seen passing McConaughey earlier in the movie, prompting the actor to deliver his iconic "That's What I Love About High School Girls" line. A loose and mostly plotless movie, Dazed and Confused is packed with talent.